I think you
Yep,
should.
yep.
Yes, we should.
All right.
Go for it.
So,
I go first?
Oh yeah, you should go first. Yeah, I think you should. You know yourself better.
Cool. So what's my name? Yeah.
Apa
My name is Aiman Azlan. I'm 31 this year. Is it? Yeah, I'm 31 this year. Married with 2 kids. Live in Perlis. I am a youth mentor since 2011. So it's been 10 years now. It's been 10 years me talking to young people for, all the topics under the sun lah. But it usually revolves around a few things like study, career, relationship, love, marriage, spirituality. So over the 10 years too, it started off like random. Just like you guys, you guys started off random. And over the 10 years too, it sort of specializes itself into what it is now. So right now, most of the time I talk about relationship lah, because I think this age group has a lot of relationship issues, not just romantic ones. There's also family, friendship, professional. So I think it's a good spot to engage the youth, and I'm glad that I am among the people who are doing that. So that's who I am.
Definitely, that is amazing. So basically, we're like talking to our senior here of like this whole media content creating thing.
Yes. You should respect me very, very much.
Dah panggil sir lah, boleh
sir. Well, anyways, so yeah, that's a little introduction about Aiman Azlan, and he's also well known for his books as well. Currently, I have one of his books called Unfollow the Flow. It's kind of like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but better, maybe.
Yes,
better maybe?
Definitely. I mean, Stephen Covey has nothing on that book.
It's all Aiman Azlan's.
This session ni macam sesi nak membanggakan diri.
Yep.
I like it.
So basically what I do it's supposed to be chill. It's supposed to be lepak. It's basically like eating at the mama, you know? Apparently we're not at the mama. So we're gonna continue our episode today with learning, right? So the reason why I bring Aiman here on the podcast is because I remember distinctively watching his video about getting his CGPA at 2.5.
Yep, you are correct. That's my degree CGPA, yes.
Yes, in psychology. So I thought of bringing you here to explain some of your experience and maybe some of your thoughts about learning, because because right now our month the theme is learning, is knowledge. So we thought maybe we could share some valuable thoughts and experience.
Yep. I look forward to it. Yeah. So yes, it's correct. My CGPA degree, just to give a bit of a context, I have my degree in psychology from University of Toronto, Canada. I took it for 4 years, graduated 2013 with a 2.50 CGPA with, you don't call it with distinction lah. I mean, just 2.50 CGPA. And by all measurement, you wouldn't call that like excellent student lah. You wouldn't call that excellent student, but even then, 2013 I was 23. How old are you guys?
I'm 19 this year.
Okay.
And I'm 20.
19, 20. Okay, so I was 23 when this happened. Yeah, I graduated 2013. I was 23, and with a 2.5 GPA. So a lot of people, not a lot of people, I would say all people would consider that not a good CGPA. But I'm probably the only one at the time who thinks otherwise, right? Because somebody has to. So I decided to redefine what 2.50 means for me, right? Just for me alone. And I started to think of other definitions other than, you're a horrible student. And I say, you're just somebody who's learning. Okay, so whatever result that you get is just part of that learning. So I learned a lot from my 2.50 CGPA. I learned what to do and what not to do. I'm not saying I am proud of the 2.50 CGPA. Obviously, I'm not proud of it, but I am proud of the fact that I can accept it. Not a lot of people can do that, unfortunately. They got their result, not the one that they want, and they crash and burn. For me, no, I didn't. I didn't crash and burn, fortunately. I made a decision, a conscious one, a choice to look at my result in a different way. And that's how I start to create my own path, basically, of not proving to anyone. I'm just proving to myself that even with a 2.50 GPA, I can still make some changes
in yourself,
in my own life, and hopefully in other people's lives. And over the past 10 years, with the career that I have right now, hopefully, I'm not sure, but hopefully that has been proven that even with a mediocre, or you would say low CGPA,
All right, hello and welcome to another episode of What Now, Jom Lepak. Wow, this is actually the first time we've recorded or doing some sort of recording this year, right? This is actually the first mini series that we're launching this year. We did one earlier this year, but that wasn't like the first that we did for that year because that was like a postponed mini series. But yeah, so today is the biggest day of our podcast series as we shall start our third mini series of this of our podcast called Mencari Cinta. So now, if you guys don't know what Mencari Cinta is basically it's actually a personal mini series for us because kita orang ada banyak cakap pasal cinta lah dengan kawan-kawan kita, dan kita ada we had a lot of intellectual discussions, but however we found that there's a lack of understanding of what love and marriage actually means, right? So this mini series kita akan uncover lah beberapa isu tentang cinta among young people di Malaysia lah. Okay, and what better way to start this series with the one and only Aiman Azlan. Now, before we let him in, I just want to tell you that my co-host will come in soon. I hope maybe around 4:00. We'll see. But anyways, we shall bring the man himself on up to the screen. Please welcome Aiman Azlan. Hi, Aiman. How are you doing? You seem so energetic today, man.
Yes, got my coffee here, so I'm all set.
Yes, you're all set.
Thank you. How are you? How are you?
I am actually very excited to start this series because it's actually the biggest one we've gotten so far. Actually,
Yeah,
the biggest one we have. Yeah,
congratulations. I'm happy for you guys. Yeah, this is the first episode, right?
Yes. This is the first episode, and not only that, I brought something. Just
What is it?
yesterday. Sekufu. Oh yes.
Buka lah plastik dulu at least.
nanti bila saya habis dengan ni saya akan baca. Semalam tak sempat nak baca sebab kurang member. Tapi hari ni, yes, he is the author of Sekufu right here. I have his book. Maybe if I go to police, maybe I can get your autograph. Who knows?
Yeah, you can definitely
if we have time lah, right? All right. So as you may know from the title of this series is saya dah suka dia. Now what? Ataupun what now? Now this is a very very hangat punya topik lah. Okay? Hangat punya topik because oftentimes when we think about the person we love ataupun kita suka seseorang, kita nak we just don't know what to do with our feelings, right? There's like many ways of like nak deal with it, right? Ada orang pergi confess lah, ada orang pergi tulis surat cinta lah, semua benda kan.
people still do that?
Okay, actually, they do. Actually, yeah, people still do short Cinta. I mean, it is
Good to
you
know.
know.
Good to know. I've been out of the game for so long, so good to know.
Oh wait, have you done it before, Aiman?
Surat cinta.
Yeah, short Cinta. Have you
I
done
don't,
it?
probably like in my sekolah rendah days, I think I probably
Ah,
like
those
slip
days.
like
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
handwritten
yeah.
handwritten notes like under the desk or something like that. Probably did that.
Mm,
That's about it, I guess.
that's about
But right
it.
now with the technology that we have, I don't know. Do kids still do that? Or they just
Mm,
slide in their DMs and things like that.
I guess most will slide into their DMs, but I think if they want to go for old school romantic, style kan, bagi surat kan.
I don't know.
It
I don't know. It really depends on how you define romantic lah. Even I'm married now, I don't do that with my wife. So I'll probably
true,
have a
true.
different idea of romance now. We're now 32 this year, so
Wow.
probably when you grow with age, the idea of love sort of like grows with you.
Mm-hmm. True, true, true. now, now we have a few viewers who have already started watching this series, right? This first episode. So, if you guys are watching this episode, do tell your friends about it because we are really, really excited to delve into a few questions with Aiman Azlan and also maybe nak membincangkan tentang misconception dan mitos apa ni pasal
Hmm.
perkahwinan tentang apa ni among young people. Baiklah.
Right.
Okey, jadi sebelum kita bermula sesi kita dengan Aiman, kita ada macam biasa Aiman, you've been on the podcast, you know what the drill is. I'm going to give you 3 questions and then let's go lepak, man.
Okay. Cool.
Right. So there's 3 questions that we have for Aiman today. So number 1, from the title itself, I like him or her, but what should I do with my feelings? That's the first question.
Okay. So,
Wait.
knowing that
Mhm.
knowing that you are in university, you're like in your early 20s, I think I can answer this question from that perspective. Good. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, sure. Can.
Okay. So you have feelings now for that person. What should you do with it? And let's say we split it into two situations, one where you are still studying, or one where you're not studying anymore. So you probably have a job now.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, in the case where somebody is still studying, they are conflicted. Very common. They are conflicted. They're still studying. They don't have time for a relationship, but they already have feelings. The thing about feelings is if you ever watch the movie Inception, right? The 2010 Christopher Nolan's movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, you know that once an idea is implanted in your brain, you cannot undo it, right? And there's a truth in that. You can't simply rewind or control Z or delete that idea once it's implanted in your head. And I can understand that for many people who probably listening or watching, you may not intend for that feeling to appear, tak berniat pun untuk nak ada perasaan tu. But the thing is, it happened when it happens. There are so many factors that you cannot control, right? Even though you probably started your university journey by saying that I'm not going to do any relationship stuff. I'm just going to focus on my study. I'm just going to graduate in 4 years. Yada yada yada. Gonna make my parents proud. But then first week of class, you saw that guy or that girl in your classroom, and then you start to feel stuff, right? So one thing that I think we have to begin talking about is the idea that once you have those feelings, you can't undo them. There's no undo button. Feelings come, feelings come. Okay. Now, number 2, once that feelings is there, the question now is, what do I do with it? Right? What do I do with it? I can't undo it. I can't delete it. So what do I do with it? Well, you can suppress it,
Mm-hmm.
not a good idea, to be honest, but
Good
you
idea.
can suppress it. It's an option. Yeah, you suppress the feeling, just push it down, push it down. This will take a lot of effort, energy, and perhaps going to cause you emotional harm along the process when you suppress your feelings. But it's an option. That's why I'm bringing it up. It's an option. The second option is to deal with it. You don't suppress it, you don't avoid it, you don't ignore it, you don't just push it aside. You deal with it. Acknowledge that I have this feeling, it's real. It's not a sin to have a feeling,
True.
but now I have to decide what action should I take after having this feeling. That's where you should focus on. What action should you take after you acknowledge you have this feeling? Now, we split into two, right? You're still studying.
Yes. Still
So
studying.
you have to ask yourself, are you open or are you prepared to have a serious relationship while studying? When I say serious relationship, yeah, Haikal, I always mean marriage though. I never have any other definition when I say serious relationship. Always my mind goes to marriage. So are you
Marriage.
capable of being married and doing your studies well? There are a lot of married couples out there who can do both very well. So we do have
True.
examples of that, right? It's just now a matter of you asking yourself whether you can do it or not. Now, if you are no longer studying, you are now working, perhaps this is not a dilemma for you. You just have to consider, are you ready for marriage? And that's about it. So the question now becomes, are you prepared? Are you ready for that serious relationship? And this is where I want all the discussion to head towards preparation, right? Towards preparation. So what have you prepared emotionally? What have you prepared physically? What have you prepared spiritually? What have you prepared intellectually? If you want to really have a proper, serious, long-term relationship with a person, right? And that's basically the premise for whatever I'm going to say today would be that preparation for that big deal of a relationship that you're going to build with this person. So whether you are in group A still studying or group B not studying anymore, you're working, it's still the same direction. Your preparation for marriage too. That's how I would tackle that first question. And just keep it open so that our discussion can progress.
True. I remember the last time we talked, I think after the recording session for first recording session that we did last year, right?
Yeah,
Right.
last year.
Yeah, last year. I think I remember I told you that I said, hey, I like this one girl, you know what, let's keep talking and all that. But then one thing that you also like pointed out to me, which I think was it redefined my definition of when I want to get married, is the idea of being prepared.
True.
So, but I think a lot of people, when they say, "Oh, I need to be ready with a job. I need to be ready with emotional stability," and then all these things. But like, I think we need to understand that marriage isn't. It's like a leap of faith.
It is. It
It's
is a leap of faith. Yeah, I agree. It is a leap of faith, literally, because you are making a huge transition in your life. So I would agree with that description.
I see. But like, since you did sort of kahwin muda lah kan, right? You kahwin
Did
around the age of 23, was it?
23, yeah. I got married when I was 23.
23 kan. So
But I wouldn't call it muda or awal. I wouldn't use
okay.
that description.
Right,
But I have
right,
my
right.
reasons why I wouldn't use that description though. It's just the idea of awal or lewat too. I have a problem with that because when you put age as the measurement for awal and lewat with regards to marriage, you're going to cause problems where people will be racing to get married before their expiration date, and when you pass the expiration date, people might feel like they are not worthy or they feel down about themselves for not being married past the expiration date. And you who are listening or watching, you probably have an idea of your own expiration date, but my thing is that there is no expiration date. If you just read around and explore a little bit, you will probably realize that people get married at various ages,
True.
young,
True.
old, and everything in between. So really, there shouldn't be this idea of you have to raise yourself to get married, because otherwise you're going to be left out. There shouldn't be that idea, but I know that idea exists. I'm just saying there shouldn't be that idea. So when you say I got married when I was 23, I don't see that as got married awal. I got married when I was ready. And you have to understand, I started when I was 18, right? I started the journey when I was 18. So you could probably say logically, okay, you started early, so probably you will end up getting married earlier than most people.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing that you can think about is that preparation can be initiated at any point in your life. It's your choice. It's
True.
literally your choice. When do you want to start preparing for marriage? If you want to focus on your career, you don't want to think about marriage yet, and then by the time you're like 25 or something, then you want to start thinking about getting married. That's your choice. We plan our life individually, right? The life that I plan was a life where it has to be in the context of marriage. So I built my career in marriage. I built my I built my professional life within marriage. So I don't see the pressure of separating those two things. Like professionally, I have to achieve something first, and then I think of marriage. And people have this idea that once you got married, you are settling down. Have you ever heard of that before? Settling
Yes.
down.
Heard of that
That's
before.
another idea that I don't agree with.
True.
What's about marriage that you think is settling down? Or people say, oh, it goes downhill from here. That's another thing that I heard people say. It goes downhill from here because marriage is not a downhill experience. It's an uphill experience. And it's
True.
not like you are settling down, because there's nothing relaxing about maintaining a marriage. I mean, marriage is relaxing. Marriage is happiness, right? But there's nothing that you can say that's relaxing in the sense that you can just goyang kaki and marriage will work for you. Marriage requires you to put active effort daily, day in and day out, 24/7, to keep it going and keep it working. So there's nothing settling down about marriage. Marriage is an active process. You have to work to 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 keep it growing and to
Keep
keep
it
it
going.
meaningful, right? And there's nothing downhill about marriage. It's an uphill battle always, and you're reaching the top. And that's the whole idea in my head when I think of marriage, and it's probably why, for me at least, and I would imagine for my wife as well, we never feel like we are in a race when it comes to marriage. So it comes back to the whole idea lah. This whole conversation, this part of the conversation is initiated by you telling me that, oh, you married awal. I just want to make that correction. I didn't marry awal.
You
I
just
married
married
at
at the age of
that.
23. I read you
Yeah,
were
I got
prepared.
married at age 23. Yeah, my parents got married 21.
Okay.
So I'm late. Dia orang awal lagi. So when does it end?
I see. I
Right?
see.
My grandparents got married when I was 16, 17. So what? Tiba-tiba my
That's
parents lewat. Dia orang lagi awal. So see,
I see. I
it
see.
never ends. You're playing with number games. It never ends. Ada orang got married earlier than that or later than that. So
Mm-hmm.
I've even attended a wedding where the groom is like 60, 70 years old,
Wow.
and the bride
Was that like
is,
in Malaysia? Was that in
yeah, in
Malaysia?
Malaysia. Yeah.
60,
And the bride is
70.
like
Wow.
60. So that like is a like a when you witness that, you kind of like feel that sense of confirmation lah, yang there is no expiration date pun sebenarnya.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean betul juga lah sebab now when you say about it, marriage is we should change the concept of like kahwin awal, then I kahwin when I'm ready, when I'm prepared.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
I
no
think that should be the
rush.
narrative. That should be the narrative. Yeah, kan. Sebab macam I think like nowadays today, like media has been more accessible than ever. Kan macam you can go on Twitter, like you can see a lot of feeds coming through, and you go on YouTube, you can see different types of videos, you know, that probably change the narrative of, you know, pengertian cinta tu apa kan.
Right.
Mm-mm. But I feel like when we look at these media, all these, you know, macam all the accessibility that we have, it creates this sort of impulse, this feeling of I want it now, you know.
This is something. I mean, you brought up a very good point. This is something that I realize about my son. He is growing up in an environment where instant gratification is easily accessible, you know. And I worry about that. I worry because that would eventually lead to him not being patient enough to put in the time, you know, to achieve what he wants to achieve. I'll give you a simple example, okay? I don't know if you remember this, but back in the day, we had apa nama TV schedule, you know, that you look through
Yeah. I remember
newspaper,
that.
right?
Remember that. Yeah.
So if you want to know what's on TV that day, you look through the newspaper and you just look through. Okay,
Yes. Oh
when's the
God.
cartoons coming up? When's movie during the
Betul.
night? The news station and all that stuff. So we would watch TV or consume entertainment according to a schedule. There's just time for
There's a time
cartoons,
schedule.
right? You have to wake up early, super early to watch cartoons. Like 8 a.m. you ada like apa lagu negaraku, and then it starts
Oh,
off with it depends
do they
on
have
what
lagu negaraku? Like
I think
during that?
in the beginning they do. They have that lagu negaraku in the beginning and lagu negaraku at the end, right?
Wow, that is something.
I think
Okay.
depending on channel juga kot.
I
So
see. I
I
see.
remember when I was growing up, if I want to catch the cartoons, I would wake up early on Saturday, like 8:30, dapatlah tengok cartoon. 9 a.m. dapat tengok cartoon. And then before that, dapat tengok like music video. You know, there's music video, MTV and stuff. And then you just follow the schedule, and then there's an ending to it. You know, by afternoon, there's no more cartoons, right? You just have to wait for the next one. So I was in a way educated, you know, secara tak langsung lah, educated to wait for the shows that I want to watch. You have to wait. You have to understand there's a time for it. My son has no conception of that, because to him, cartoons is all the time, everywhere, and easily accessible. You want to watch cartoon, you take out your phone, put on YouTube, you can watch cartoon right now. Right now. Okay? There's no sense of a schedule. So my wife and I, what we did was that we had to artificially introduce a schedule for him. Otherwise, he can watch cartoon 24/7, which is possible. You can watch cartoon 24/7. Cartoon is always on. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I fear for the generation where you don't know, or rather you are less likely to wait for things, less likely to be patient for things to happen. You know, you want things to be immediate. In psychology, we call this instant gratification. And there is an interesting study that I learned back when I was in university, which is called the Marshmallow Experiment. It's called the Marshmallow Experiment. So you can probably watch it on YouTube. Just type in Marshmallow Experiment. What the researchers did was they put these kids like in a small room with a table, and then the researcher would put a marshmallow in front of them. One marshmallow, one in front of them. And then the researcher will say, if you want to eat this marshmallow now, you can. But if you wait for 10 minutes, you will get 2 marshmallows instead of 1. So you understand the idea?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So it's clear. The instruction is given equally to all of the kids, and then they just observe what happens, right? So the researcher will say, I'm just going to go out for 10 minutes. I'll be back. If you do not eat the one marshmallow, I'll give you another one. So now you have 2. But if you eat the marshmallow now, you will not have the other one. So the kids now understand I have a choice between one marshmallow now or 2 marshmallows later.
Marshmallows later.
I just have to wait for 10 minutes. So what they observed during the 10-minute period tu, these kids were squirming, macam tak tahan tu tengok marshmallow depan dia kan, nafsu membuat-buat macam, I can eat it now. But there are kids who can actually tahan themselves, dia macam nak pegang marshmallow tu pasal macam no. Kena tunggu jap.
Sabar dulu, tengok dulu.
Ada budak yang jenis macam tak kisah langsung, As soon as the researcher goes out, dapat 1 marshmallow. So the researcher did that experiment, and the researcher followed these kids as they grow up to see how they were doing in life. And what they found was the kids that cannot wait, tak tahan, terus makan 1 marshmallow, they did, on average, they did worse in academics, worse in career. For the kids who can wait for 10 minutes before eating the marshmallow, 2 of them that they can get, they did better on average, academic-wise and career-wise. What does this tell you? It tells you that patience has a long way, can really help you a long way in life. If you can be patient with the process of mencari cinta, right? That's the topic for today, kan? And
Yes,
you understand that this thing takes time. Even though you see, on social media, people get married, you see probably your friends getting married, your friends hantar like kad jemputan, you don't feel intimidated, or to put it more accurately, you don't feel threatened by the fact that, they got it first.
Yeah.
And you don't feel macam, kenapa aku tak dapat? I want it now too, right? So you'll be more patient with the process, and you don't have this idea of, I want it now, right now, because everything has timing. And you just have to think of like a fruit in a tree. Each fruit in a tree will ripe according to its own time. You don't pick the fruit before its time. And if you pick a fruit from a tree before its time and you eat it, you might get stomach ache because the fruit is not ready.
It's not ready.
Similarly, that's the analogy I always give lah when I talk about marriage. Similarly with us, we all have our own timing, So if you think to yourself, yang I should be, picked from the tree right now, even though you're not ripe yet, then you may cause more harm than good in that sense.
True.
That's just what I think lah.
Honestly, what you said to me, that reminded me of my, previous days of my, trying to get into a relationship. My term of relationship, Aiman, is like, lelaki perempuan berkapal kan. That was me back then lah. But then macam I realized that I didn't really, had enough, time to really ponder about it, to actually develop myself as a person, right?
Right.
There was always this rush of like, dia dapat, I must get it. It's even to university. It's, I can see it very clearly. Like people are just not just Cinta itself, but like a lot of things they just want it now. And you're right. Like there's a time and a place where things will come together. There is a need to be patient. And I think patience is very underrated nowadays. Like, you just want things now. Sometimes you need to be patient once in a while and just enjoy the process. And also I want to highlight that I think we cannot skip the process no matter what.
True.
There you can enhance and also speed up the process, but there's no skipping step 1 or step 2, step 3.
Yeah. You want to create something. Let's say you want to build a house, or in marriage case, we always say nak bina masjid, right? We use that phrasing, which is a good phrasing. I like it. Let's say you want to build a mosque, build a masjid, right? You can't skip any step, right?
Betul.
Katakanlah you nak cepat kan, okay, you skip this step, you cut corners, You don't do it properly. You just want to have it built. Do you think it's gonna last? Do you think it's gonna be of that quality of all this? You see all these old masjid that can withstand all the harsh weather and whatever, and can stand for hundreds of years. I have masjid near my house where it's been 140 years.
Wow,
That masjid.
140 years?
Yes, 140 years. Yes. So that is the kind of build quality you want to have in a masjid. But you have to understand, how did they build it so that it lasts that long? They didn't skip any step. They follow the process properly. They don't cut corners. They don't buy cheaper materials just because it's cheap. They buy proper materials that's gonna withstand the test of time. Now, the same can be said to your marriage, Nandi. Your marriage will also be tested, left, right, and center, on many occasions. And if you don't build the marriage properly, then there's a high chance that you're not going to make it. And the thing that you mentioned about you tak kahwin lagi tapi you nampak orang lain dah kahwin, you rasa macam, oh, I want that too. I get that feeling, because it's very primitive inside of us that we want
Betul.
good things that other people have for ourselves, right? Like my son, when he sees a child, enjoying an ice cream, he wants it too. He wants it too. Very, very normal. Very normal. There's nothing weird about it. If you see good and you want it for yourself, there's nothing abnormal about it. It's quite normal. But if you look at a child like my son, when he wants that ice cream from looking at the other child eating ice cream, he can get it in one of two ways. He can grab it from that child,
Then grab it,
aku
he
nak
just like ambil
ice
je.
cream, ambil je. So you ambil daripada budak tu, kesian dia. Or he can work his way to get his own ice cream, right? Probably not going to get his ice cream immediately. He can ask, Papa, nak ice cream boleh tak? I can say yes, I can say no, depending on the timing. If, let's say, I know that my son already had something sweet that day, I'm going to say, no, sorry, no, you can't have ice cream right now. You already have sweets. So if you want to have ice cream, you can do it tomorrow. So I'm trying to instill that sense of patience. You have to wait. Patience. Everything has its time. You can't expect everything to happen for you immediately as you want it. Right? For a child, that's very difficult to understand. A child wants things immediately. Instant gratification is like a child's normal reaction to things. But that's a child. You can understand that's a child. But we're not talking about children. We're talking about adults. You're an adult. I'm an adult. So we should move past the idea of instant gratification when we become an adult. But unfortunately, even as an adult, we still carry this childlike behavior where we want things immediately, or we just want to grab it from somebody else, right? So the thing that I want to highlight here is the unfortunate nature of seeing adults not growing into the adult they should be, but they somehow got stuck with their childish self. In the sense that they can't wait for things to happen. They just want it right away. I'm not calling people a child. I'm not like saying haikal budak lah. No, I'm saying that you have that childlike behavior that you haven't grown out of, and you should think about that. I should think about it. Do I have in myself any like inappropriate childlike behavior that I should grow out of? And I say inappropriate because not everything you should grow out of. There's some like children experiences that should remain. Like, for example, imagination. I still have my childlike imagination, and it's very useful. to have that kind of like imagination, right? Even as an adult. But in terms of behavior, I don't behave the same way that I behaved when I was 5, you know. But there are certain moments where I would be goofy, you know, I would be a bit childlike, but it's appropriate according to the situation. But here, it's inappropriate because you should know better as an adult that you should trust the process and you should be patient with the process. But even then, as I'm saying, as I'm telling you this, Haikal, we forget. I forget. Sometimes I revert back to that childlike behavior, and I too want things to be immediate. Like for example, I want my son to understand things immediately, even though I
Immediately.
know he doesn't have the capacity to understand right now. So I too struggle with it, but having that realization and understanding that we should try to grow out of it and be patient in Mencari Cinta is a very important sentiment to remember.
True, true. Now talking about mencari, okay, so I guess nowadays it is a sort of a norm where macam uh, kita akan berkapal kan, those things will happen, right? Like it's young people's, kind of like, when you go, it's kind of like a norm now lah, right? It's a norm now, right? Right. So do you think, like, if I would like to like somebody, do you think going to a relationship, is it the safest method?
Good question. Good question. Well, first we have to define safe. What do you mean by safe? The way I understand safe is emotionally safe. Because when you talk about relationships, lots of emotions come into play, right? And if, let's say, you decide that I am going to engage in this couple relationship, becoming somebody's boyfriend, somebody's girlfriend, no marriage in sight yet. We just want to have this like lovey-dovey relationship with each other, intimate, but no marriage in sight. And a lot of people think that this is a method. If you want to get married, you just have to test it out first, test it out first. And then along the way, if you think that, marriage is possible, then and only then you bring up the topic of marriage. This is very common. You see it in movies, novels, and you see it in front of you all the time. So I'm not surprised that this is as common as you say it is. It is common during my time, and I'm probably sure it's common during your time. Now, is it the safest method? That's the question, right? So let's investigate the question. If you,
Aiman.
yeah.
Oh, so sorry. Sorry to cut you off, but is it okay if I just say a few things first?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about the safest method thing, right? I think we need to establish something when it comes to getting yourself into a relationship, which is the lovey-dovey relationship lah.
Yes.
I think it's based on intuition.
I can get with that. Yeah.
It's based on intuition. So we're picking the person we like based on what we are familiar with, who we, what we think is right for us.
Okay. I'm following you.
So I think, like, oftentimes people, when they enter in relationships, they just follow the feeling of I love you, but there is nothing more than that.
And to many people, that's enough. To many
But
people, that's enough. Just the fact that I love this person. That's it. What more should I want to invest?
yes, but I think there's a problem with that, because I think oftentimes when you're watching movies, you don't see the process of, like, okay, where's the expectation comes in, where is the where is what, am I emotionally ready? Are we emotionally ready to pursue this together? Or there is no, like, ta'aruf lah, like there's no ta'aruf session with when you, like, I confess to this person. Because I think when you confess to somebody, it is a huge issue. It is a huge, like, statement to say to somebody, I like you, you know.
Mhm.
It is a huge statement. So I think there has to be some sort of discourse or some sort of discussion first before you actually pursue it. Because if you just pursue it in just like that, saya rasa macam you know, without knowing the person, memang you akan timbul banyak masalah. Expectation tak mendapati. Lepas tu emotional baggage diorang berbeza.
Right.
There is no empathizing with one another. So I think that's the normal case. Like even if it's your zaman and my zaman, I think those are the common issues that usually arises. Don't you think?
Yep. Yep. I agree with that. Yes. But here's where I want to add something.
Sure.
You know, I understand wanting love. You know, I understand that. I understand you want that kind of relationship. Really do. I understand it. You know, I feel for the people who yearn for that kind of relationship. But here's the thing, okay? And try to follow with me. Yeah,
Sure.
you can have love in one of two ways. Number one, you can have love without responsibilities. You can have it. You know, you can have this casual, free reign love where you don't think about responsibilities. There's no law that govern your relationship. And don't be surprised when there are people who question, why do I need to get married at all? You know, I already have everything that I want. You know,
True.
I can touch her. I can go out with her. You know, we can have dinner. We can have all this fun. So why do I need to get married? I already have this thing. That's one option. The other option is you can have love with responsibilities, meaning you sign a contract. Let's have an agreement where we will commit to each other no matter what happens. You know, no matter apa, in movies they have this, marriage vow where they say till death do us part, right? Till death do us part. So that's a good sentiment, and that can only happen in the context of marriage, because marriage is a contract. It's a legal situation that you are committing yourself to, and you can have it. That's love too, but it's love with responsibilities, where I have to take care of you. I have to fulfill your rights. I have to, if let's say you bear my child, I have to take care of the child, right? So there's responsibilities. And let's say, for example, we want to part ways, can we don't want this relationship anymore, we want to end the contract. There's also legal procedure that you have to follow if you want to get a divorce, right? So all those things boils down to one particular issue that I want to address, and that is responsibility. Do
Great
you want
power comes with
love with
responsibility.
responsibility, or do you want love without responsibility? And if you want to answer this question, you have to go back to the discussion we had before about children. About children.
Children.
You don't have a child, but you can observe children that you know
True.
around you. Maybe children in your family, you have a nephew, niece, or you have children in the playground in your neighborhood. You can observe them, and you start to realize one thing: they don't have responsibilities. They have fun, but they don't care about responsibilities, and they don't have to, because they're kids, they're children. It is their time to only have fun without responsibilities. But children can't be children forever. They have to grow up. And as they grow up, one of the things that enable them to grow up is responsibility. You start to realize that slowly, as you become a teenager, you become a young adult, you become an adult, you start to gain more responsibilities compared to when you were 5. Like my son is now 7. He has no big responsibilities on his shoulder, and he doesn't have to. It's not his time yet. He's still in that framework of being a child, having fun, play, not thinking or caring about responsibilities yet. But for us, we have to think of responsibility. Every single thing that we do must have consequences and must be in the framework of a responsibility. And talking about love and relationship, it should be within the same framework. You cannot, if you want love without responsibility, that's I'm sorry to say this, that's like a child's love. It's like you want all the fun, but none of the responsibility, right? Like I can be with you, hang out with you, we can touch hands, we can do all this fun stuff together. And the moment where I don't feel like I want to be with you, let's just break up. I don't feel like we can continue this anymore. And you can imagine the emotional pain that kind of exercise can cause. And that's where we go back to the idea of what's safe. What do you mean by safe? The safest method. To me, when you say safe, I think of emotions, because this is a very emotional thing that we're discussing, right? Marriage, love, wanting to be needed, wanting to be supported. So is it emotionally the safest method for you to just try things out, and then if it works, you get married? I would argue no. I would argue the safer method is for you to clearly lay out in the beginning that the only reason I would like to have this relationship with you is for marriage and no other reason. Like if you want to confess, this is how you confess. You don't confess, I like you very much, because that kind of confession has no call to action that's clear. Because what do you really want when you say you like me? Okay, you like me. Okay, I hear you. So what do you want? What do you want? But if you say to the person, I'm considering you as my potential partner for marriage. If you're interested, I would love to get to know you better. That's how you start the conversation. You lay out that this is the intention. I have no other intention. This is the intention. And this is, to me, a much more emotionally safe investment, because from the get-go, you know if the person is on the same page with you or not. You don't have this, tug of war thing happening where you kind of like wondering, oh, is this person serious? Is she serious? Are we on the same page? You immediately ask the question, I want to get to know you better for marriage. No other reason. Are you interested? If she says yes, he says yes, then at least you're on the same page, intention-wise. You know that, the reason why we're getting to know each other is for marriage, not for other reason, not for a one-night stand, not for any kind of casual relationship. No, we're talking about serious stuff here. So let's get the intention straight. And if you're not ready for that, you can tell me right now. You'll be like, oh, marriage, that's too early for me. And I could say, oh, thank you for telling me that. I can consider other people then. So you bypass all the, testing out phase where you invest your emotion in it, but there's no payback. There's no payoff at the end.
True.
So to me, that's more emotionally safe. Although I can admit that it's not romantic. It's not romantic at all. But the thing,
at least he doesn't play with your feelings.
Yeah, the thing about romance is that there's a time and a place. For me, if you want to get romantic, wait until marriage. You can crank up the romance meter to 10 at that time. And
True.
that's a safer way to express your romance, because you are now in a committed relationship. You have love with responsibilities. And if, let's say, that romance lead to a child, that child is now secure in an institution where that child is now well taken care of, as opposed to you have this casual relationship and then oops, you get a child. That child's future is in in danger because there's no institution or a structure or a legal framework where that child's rights are protected, you know.
Yeah.
So I come from that perspective lah.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to tell people that romance is dead or romance is nowhere to be found. Romance is still there. It's just not the time yet, you know. For
Mhm.
now, let's talk business. In a way lah, let's be professional and talk about, you know, building this relationship properly. Let's start with, you know, building the foundation first. You know, remember we talk about bina masjid.
Bila
You
masjid.
start with foundation first. You don't start with the decoration first. Pelik kan? You want to build a masjid, you
Mm-mm.
start with the decoration
The
first. You start
decoration, yeah.
with let's pick out the colors. Like what colors? You haven't done the foundation yet. So that's the analogy of, you know, if you want to have all the lovey-dovey romantic part, but you don't have the foundation yet. So what are you building then? So for me, you lay down the foundation first, marriage, you lay down the foundation first, and then on top of it, you can build the most beautiful masjid that you want to build. So that's safe. That
That
is
is
safe.
safe. That is safe. True. Now, let's move on to something a bit more, I think around my generation lah. Okay. So I'm not sure your generation has like, online dating apps, but now it has become a thing, right? Since this pandemic, right? Since this pandemic, a lot of people has diverged themselves ataupun diorang masuk ataupun membuat account apa ni dating app like seperti Bumble, Tinder, Umi, any dating apps, right? Okay. Now, this is another method that young people are exploring, right? And on personally, I have an issue in it. I have a lot of issue with online dating apps. But do you think it, dating apps itself helps bring more harm than good?
Well, that's a good question. Does dating apps bring more harm than good? Well, first of all, not all dating apps are created equal. Let's be fair, lah kan? Not all dating apps are created equal. So you can't put all these online matchmaking site or dating apps in one basket and say they're all the same. Similarly, you don't say all social media is the same.
True.
Facebook has their own, you know, mindset. TikTok has their own mindset.
Your mindset.
Twitter has their own mindset. You know, and one is probably more problematic than the other. Similarly with dating sites. So when you want to gauge or measure benefit and harm, you have to understand what app are we talking about and what are their policies like. How do they protect their users in using their app, and about the data protection and things like that. Because when you talk about the internet, those are the things that you should consider about security, right? That's one. And this next one is about finding the right person using these apps. So you have to understand this kind of, let's just say, platform opens up a huge number of possibilities. And I would argue that huge number is too huge for us to
Consume.
manage well.
Mm-hmm.
There's this idea in psychology called the the paradox of choice. The paradox of
Heard of it.
choice.
Heard of it.
Heard of it?
Used it a
Yeah.
lot. Use that a lot
So
in my life.
one example that was given was about genes. You know, genes.
Mm-hmm.
Many years ago, the choices for genes are limited. You have, you know, bootcut, and you have denim. You have very few choices. Today, you have a lot more choices of genes. You know, you have acid wash, you have the ones that are, you know, koya in the middle, you have many different colors. So the paradox of choice basically say that when you have, choices are good. Okay, let's be clear. Choices are good only up to a certain point.
Mhm.
Beyond that point, choices become paralyzing. Okay, you might argue, well, if I have one choice compared to having five choices is better, right? I would agree, five choices is better. But you can't extrapolate that to infinity. You can't say, therefore, 5 million choices is better than 50, because we have a limit to how many choices we can comprehend and how many choices we can manage.
Mhm.
Because when it becomes too much, you become paralyzed. You tak tahu nak pilih apa. Okay? One famous example would be Netflix. There are so many shows on that platform. It takes you an hour just to choose one. How many of you buka Netflix, scroll bukan main lama? Tak pilih apa lagi? Scroll, scroll,
Kan?
scroll, scroll.
Scroll.
That's the paradox of choice. You may be happy that you have all these choices, but they are paralyzing. They are paralyzing. Now, coming back to the dating apps, it's the same problem. You are opening up your options. It's a huge pool of people, right? You may see that as an advantage, but it can be too much. You can have this problem where, let's say, you find someone on the app, and then you think to yourself, this person is attractive, right? Fulfills my criteria. Okay, I want to get to know this person better. And then comes another person in the app
With the same thing.
who is like better looking, maybe.
Yeah.
And you're thinking to yourself, this person is better, so I'm just gonna abandon the first person. I can go to the second person, and then another person comes.
Another person comes in.
Better job. This person has a better job, right? So you abandon the second person, you go to the third person. So it never ends, because when you find one good person, there's always a better one. Let me repeat that. When you find one good person, there's always a better one. Always. There's always somebody better looking, always somebody with more money, always somebody with like a better family. Always. It never ends. So if you want to go along that route of using dating apps or matchmaking site, one fair warning that I can say is you need to know when to stop. You need to know when to stop.
True,
You need to have a clear idea of what is good enough. You can't be like, I want to find the best one. I want to find the best one. You're going to be finding for a very long time lah. You're going to be searching for a very long time. And if you reflect on it, traditionally, how did our parents or grandparents find each other? They don't have apps. They have limited number of people, but they've managed to find each other, and they are married for a very long time, right? Well, I would argue because they don't have many choices, and that's an advantage. That is an advantage when you don't have many choices. That many choices, like they have choices, but not that many. So they tend to have an idea, this person is good enough. That's okay. This person is good enough. And then let's work on it. You find somebody that's good enough. You are attracted to this person. This person is attracted to you. You don't find this person ugly or whatever. Decent, okay. And you start from there. You work your way up. But we don't have that in the dating app world, because there are too many choices. So if you're asking me about what's the harm it can give you, that's one potential harm it can give you, where you have too many choices.
Too many choices.
I would advise you limit your choices by starting with your social circle first. Okay, I'm not against like matchmaking sites or dating app. I'm sure there are people who found each other through those online apps and they are happily married. I'm sure, and it is an option for many people out there. So I'm not bashing their options. However, before you consider that, try to first search around among the people you already know. Your own social circle, your friends, your family members, your neighborhood. Try with your own social circle first, and then let's say you are out of options and you're like, I can't find anyone. It's been a year, and you want to consider a dating app. That's okay. That's fine. But I wouldn't go to dating apps as the first option. I wouldn't
There's
go there.
always. Mhm.
I wouldn't go there as the first option. I would just go find, like, for example, my wife is among my friends. We went to the same school. She was my
Mhm.
classmate. That's how we know each other. So I didn't have to go to any dating app. I know her from my past, right? So I just search my brain for like friends that I know, and then I approach her, and things work out. So that will be the method that I would recommend to most people. And let's say it doesn't work out, you want to consider dating apps or online matchmaking site. That's good. Try that, but not as a
Sure,
first
sure.
option though. Not as a
None of
first
the first
option
option.
because
I
of the
think this
paradox.
and also the impulse also, you know, let me just say that like dating apps do emphasize on looks rather than the bio itself. You know,
Yeah, that's the first thing you see, right? How
yeah,
the
that's the first
person
thing you
looks.
see. Yeah, I mean it's neutral for me. It's neutral, but sometimes people can take it too far. Like oh the
Yeah.
looks are nice, and then like oh the bio comes with it. So all that stuff lah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I agree. But again, I'm not bashing people who choose dating apps as their method for finding a partner. I'm just saying, don't let that be your first choice, lah. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
you should
saying.
try
Don't let that
other.
be your
Yeah,
first. Try
that's right.
try other method that's safer. That's proven to work for generations. Your grandparents use it. Your parents use it. Your great grandparents use it. How do they find each other? They use their own social circle. They use their communication skill. They actually
Mm-hmm.
meet each other and talk. This face-to-face conversation is a skill that is lacking nowadays because we are too reliant on texting and sliding in
Yes.
the DMs and
Mm.
do, using emojis and stuff, which by the way I
Yes,
enjoy. I
definitely.
enjoy I
True,
enjoy
true.
all those things. I enjoy all those things, but not to the extent that I deteriorate my communication skills. I mean, this face-to-face communication should still be the primary way we communicate. Like talking to each other should still be the primary way we communicate. All the other
Hmm.
stuff, secondary. Secondary.
Absolutely true. When I thought about WhatsApp and all these social media platforms, I think of it as just a means of communication, not a means of conversation.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, good. Good
yeah.
way of
Because
putting it.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like the reason why I say that because they're just a tool to help us get the message out there.
Yeah.
Like like if somebody wants to reply to your message and if they don't reply then that's okay. I mean because if you think of like all the bad assumptions, then you're gonna say that this person doesn't like me, but there's other reasons that he or she could not reply to you at that specific moment. And I think that is a big problem when it comes to love during this generation, right? Like we rely too much on the superficial aspect, which is texting, all these signs, signals, which I think which should be secondary. The primary thing should be meeting up face to face, talking it out, rather than just texting it.
And I see this as a big problem in marriages where, you don't practice talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
What ends up happening is when you don't talk to each other, what are you left with? You're left with guessing. There's a lot of guessing games. Oh, she didn't reply my text. She's mad at me. Like
Mm.
tiba-tiba pula asal lah.
Ya, tiba-tiba macam tak reply lah.
Oh, he only blue tick me. Why? She doesn't love me anymore.
Why?
So I would I mean, first of all, I say this to myself lah, before anybody else. If you want to know, talk about it, ask. It's a very simple concept. If you want to know something, ask. It's a very simple concept. And if you want to understand, listen. Again, very simple concept. You don't need a degree to understand that. But it's hard to practice nowadays because you're so used to all these secondary ways of communication where you're now guessing all the time why people do what they do. I get asked questions like this all the time, Haikal. I don't know how many of them in total, but I get asked probably like on average at least once a day. Somebody message me or somebody email me saying that such and such did not reply my message. Why? Or somebody says that this person is only answering my question with one sentence. Why this person doesn't like me? Lots of guessing, lots of assumption, and my answer to them is always the same. You want to know? Ask.
Yes.
Right? Why do you ask me for? I'm not that guy. You ask that guy. You ask the person. You ask the person in question. If you want to know why he or she is doing what he or she is doing, you ask that person. Have a conversation. Yesterday I sent you a text, but you did not reply. I wonder what happened. Can you tell me? Just simply ask that question. And maybe instead of racking up your brain trying to guess why the person does that, that person can simply just explain to you, oh, sorry, I forgot. I saw your message.
I know, right? Yeah,
I saw your message, but I forgot to reply because I had this assignment due. I have to send it like right away unless my professor will kill me. So I have to, I like focus on the assignment. I forgot the message you sent me. I'm so sorry. I meant to text you back. And this happens a lot, Sometimes my wife didn't reply my text. I don't make any assumptions. I ask, what happened? Anything happened? And she always have like a situation that happened that caused her to not do it. So it's not like she doesn't love me anymore. Oh, he doesn't love me anymore. Lots of assumptions. And I think this is where we have to bring back some of the old school stuff. And I know when I say old school stuff, you probably think, tak cool lah babe, kita nak kena trendy. I understand. I'm up with the trend as well, but there are certain things that are evergreen. No matter what generation you are, it's evergreen. And communication, having this face-to-face conversation with a person is an evergreen concept. No matter if one day we all speak in holograms, it's still going to be relevant that day. No matter if we don't have smartphone anymore, we just talk with our finger, it's still going to be relevant that day. Because face-to-face conversation is a human thing. It's a human thing. So we need to bring that back. If let's say you're like too comfortable with just texting, and some people don't even text, they just ghost each other and just think faham je lah kan, kita nak break up, ghost je lah dia. Instead of like facing the person like somebody responsible and say, I'm sorry, I don't want to continue this relationship anymore.
That's a better way. That's a better way than just letting somebody assume.
That's a better way, but I know it's harder. It's a harder way. I'll admit that it's harder to like look a person into the eyes and say that you don't want to be with that person anymore, right? It's much harder because now you have to face the consequence, emotional consequence. That person may be crying. That person may be feeling devastated, kecewa. And you might be thinking, daripada aku nak hadapi semua benda tu, baik aku ghosting dia sahaja. 3 bulan dia faham lah tu. But that's more of an emotional torture when you ghost somebody, because now you are leaving the person with all their imagination, and they will think of things beyond even what you can think of. Right? Instead of doing that, why don't you just tell the person, I don't want this relationship anymore. I don't think that we're fit for each other. This ta'aruf, I think it doesn't work out. I don't think we are sekufu. I don't think that we are compatible with each other. Our interests are different. You can say whatever lah, but that thing, that face-to-face honest conversation to It's difficult, but it builds character. Really, it builds character. It builds maturity. It shows that you are responsible. It shows that you're not like avoiding the problem, rather you are dealing with the problem. And I think in the effort of like Mencari Cinta, or in the effort of building a long-lasting, long-term relationship, this part is crucial, because when you have a wife, when you have a husband, you want to have this as a constant in your relationship, in your marriage, having this open channel of communication where you can talk to each other, rather than seorang masa muka tak cakap with each other, and tak tahulah apa
Betul.
isu dia. Dia kata dia ni mungkin lah ada masalah dengan tu, lepas tu seorang lain pun fikir benda sama juga, dia ni mungkin ada masalah tu. It's all about guessing. It's not about like really facing each other and having that honest conversation. Tiba-tiba kita ranting pula
Hey Aiman, I think your son is interested untuk mencari cinta lah.
Yeah, I apologize if you're listening to the podcast. You have like background noises where my son. I think I can give context to the people today. I'm not feeling well today, so as a family we decided to quarantine for safety. But I'm feeling much better now, so we may not have to quarantine for long. So that's why you hear all my family like berbunyi-bunyi kat background too. If not, it's just gonna be me and you lah kan. My son pergi tadika, my other son pergi taska, my wife pergi pejabat kan. But today we're all here in the same house, so we kind of have to deal with the ambience noise in the background, which I think since we're talking about Mencari Cinta, right? This is part of the love that I talk about. Love with responsibilities. You can't, or you shouldn't be able to just enjoy love without the responsibilities that come with it. Like a child is a responsibility. It comes from love, right? But you have to deal with it. It's a package deal. You can't macam buffet just nak pilih benda best-best sahaja. You have to accept everything as a package. Otherwise, you're gonna be left with this problem of always chasing what's fun, but you don't want to face the consequences of fun. The responsibilities that come with fun. If you're a child, I get it, you're a child, but I don't think I'm speaking to a child right now.
Yeah, true. I think everybody has to watch No Way Home now, Aiman.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what happened to Peter Parker, right? With great power comes with great responsibility.
Yes. And it's interesting you mentioned No Way Home, but before I go any further, is it okay if I give like spoilers? I mean,
it has been out for a while.
Yeah. So if you haven't watched Spider-Man No Way Home, I'm sorry, it's not my fault. It's been out for a very long time right now. Okay, so you should already know what happened. Okay.
Yes.
So spoiler alert, I'm gonna tell you what happened. So you remember in the movie, Peter Parker is asking Doctor Strange to do something for him, right? He's asking Doctor Strange. So basically, he's asking for a buffet deal. I want to pick this. I want to pick and choose the things that I want, right? But he doesn't realize there's consequences for pick and choose what you want. You can't have all the fun without responsibilities. And later on in the movie, he realized that what he wants has consequences, huge consequences, and he has to own up to the responsibility of those consequences. So at the end of it, if he wants everybody in his life to not have to deal with Spider-Man, he has to erase himself from everyone's memory. That's the consequence. If you want that, you can, but you have to face the consequence. You can't have the cake and eat it too. So in the context of marriage, you can have love, you can have all the fun, you can have all the romance, you can have fun with your husband, fun with your wife, but get ready to also face or carry the responsibilities that come with love.
Yes.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point,
Yes,
because
definitely.
there's no such thing as, having fun without the responsibility if you're not a child. I mean, if you are a child,
Yeah.
then that's your world again. Like my son. My son doesn't care about responsibility. He only cares about fun. And I get it. He's a child. But once you are past that phase of your life, you shouldn't think that way anymore.
Mm-hmm. Definitely true. Now, I kind of picked this up earlier in the conversation about berkawan dulu sebelum kahwin, right?
Right?
Okay, so I know that I had this conversation with my friend yesterday when we were going out. He was like, "Hey bro, you know what? Tak payah kahwin dulu bro. Cakap saya suka dia kan. Without apa ni, so you can still have that lovey-dovey feeling." But I personally don't agree with it, because I think you should really know the person first before you know get yourself before get yourself into a sticky
Yeah,
situation.
I
Yeah.
agree. Don't marry stranger. Betul. I agree.
Yes. So macam I think it's better, like I think like for me, I think the best of friends do make the best couples till marriage. I mean, does that make sense?
That's
Hmm.
that's 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 a good assessment. Let me think about that. The best of friends make the best married couple. I would agree. I would agree, because there is uh, an element of friendship in marriage, right? There is an element of friendship in marriage. In fact, it's already been proven scientifically by a psychologist by the name of Dr. John Gottman. He studied like marital relationship for decades, lama dah dia
Mhm.
study, and he found one of the key factor if you want to make marriage work is you need to have that friendship element, right? If you don't have that friendship element, it's not going to work. Now, what do I mean by friendship element? Mean like true friends lah, true friends, where you can rely on each other, you can talk to each other, you can tell each other, embarrassing stuff, maybe stuff that you wouldn't tell your mother even, but you tell your wife, you tell your husband, because you know that the level of intimacy with your married partner is much deeper than any other individual in your life. Period.
Right. Yeah.
Even your mother cannot be that intimate with you, right? And understandably so. There are so many things that we share as a married partner that we don't share with anybody else ever. So
True.
this space of being married ni is a sacred space, right? So if you want to maintain that sacred space, you want to make sure that sacred space is working, is meaningful, then yeah, that element of friendship is crucial. But it's not the only piece of the puzzle. That's the one thing that I would add lah. Just because you are good friends, that alone is not enough. It's one of the pieces of the puzzle,
The puzzle.
yes,
Yeah.
right? But it's not the only piece of the puzzle. Okay, you need other stuff as well. You need other things as well. You need to understand each other intimately beyond just friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can't say that, oh, my husband is just like my friend. No, your husband is not just like your friend. He's more
He
than
is your
that. He should be
partner.
more than that.
Yeah.
He
It should
should
be
be more
more
than
than
that,
that. It should be
right?
more than that.
It
Yeah.
should be
Yeah.
more than that. If you don't see any difference between your husband and your male friends, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. Okay, so that's one thing that I would add to that lah. But generally, I would agree. Yeah, if you have a good friendship rapport going on between you and your partner, that will contribute to you having a much more meaningful relationship in the long term. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yep.
And I also think that I think a lot of people get you know confused about what love is about. Like love can be in any shape or form, right? There's love to your friends, love to your family, love to your colleagues, all that stuff.
Right.
I think
Right.
I think that's also like another piece of the puzzle as well. Like if you get the basic idea of what love is, I think you can understand how to love somebody more than that, like to be somebody in your life, because marriage is, like you said, it's a contract, and
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna be there for the rest of your life. Hopefully lah, hopefully. And then and there needs to be that loving element, like all sorts of love, coming from that person, so yeah.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Yes, yes. Love should. I remember one time I had this event at UIA. This is about many years ago, and
Mhm.
it was about love. Okay, it was about love. It was like this big event where many speakers were invited. I was one of them, and in one
Mhm.
of the speech by another speaker, he said that love, once you try to define it, it loses its meaning.
Wow.
The idea is that love is so big that if you try to define it, you are reducing it. You can't
Mhm.
completely define it. Let's say I have a definition of love, right? I may be able to define parts of it, but I can't define the whole of it, the whole love. So when you start to define it, it loses its meaning. So I can't give a complete definition of love. I myself don't know how to put it into words. But the thing about us is that we know what love is, even though we can't say it what it
See,
is.
yeah,
It's
it
hard to
is.
it's hard to put it into words, kan? But you know what it is. Like when you see it, you know, that's love.
Mhm.
So we have this radar where we can recognize love when it happens, right? So we know what it is. It's not like love ni apa yang aku tak tahu. You know what it is. You already know what it is. It's just that it's hard to put it into words. I get it. I can't put it into words, but you just know what it is. Now, the thing that we want to introduce here is not the concept or definition of love, but the framework within which that love is manifested. Okay, the
Mhm.
framework. It's not about love per se because you already know what love is. It's just the framework tu.
True.
You
The
nak letak
framework.
cinta di mana? Itu dia.
Betul,
You nak letak
betul.
cinta di mana? So you know what love is, but what framework are you putting love in? So if you're putting it in the
Mhm.
framework of marriage, in the framework of lawful relationship, in the framework of
Mhm.
family, in the framework of loving your country, that framework matters. That framework
True.
matters. And when you start to understand, okay, what is the right way to love? What is the wrong way to love? You now start to go into right and wrong. Right and wrong is a philosophical question. So you have to ask yourself, how do you decide right and wrong? Right? So for us, both of us are Muslims. So the way that
Mhm.
we decide right or wrong is by referring to Islam. Okay.
Yes.
I don't decide what's right or wrong. It's not like, saya Aiman Azlan kata itu salah. No, 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 no. It's not me who decided. I refer to this framework that I use to enlighten my decision making, that is Islam. What does Islam say? Oh, Islam say this is correct. Therefore, I say it's correct. Oh, Islam says this is wrong. Therefore, I say it's wrong. So I'm putting love in that framework. If I want to love somebody, I have to first ask, is this the way that Islam wants me to love somebody?
Mhm.
Right? I know what love is, but I want to put it in a place where it's appropriate.
Yes.
This is the idea in
Definitely.
Islam, not just in Islam lah, in whatever philosophy you follow, kan? The idea of justice, adil, and the opposite of adil is zalim. Okay, the adil, the zalim. And I remember the definition of adil is interesting to me. Adil means you put a thing in its proper place. That is adil. It doesn't mean adil tu 50-50. Orang fikir adil. Adil
Betul.
maknanya you dapat banyak ni, I dapat banyak ni, kita kena 50-50. Itu adil. No, no, no. Adil means you put a thing in its proper place. But let's say for example, ada orang ketiga datang dekat kita punya conversation ni dan dia tak pakai spek. Kita pakai
Mhm.
spek. kita rasa macam ish tak adil lah. Kita pakai spek, dia tak pakai spek. Kesian kat dia.
Kita pakai
Bagi
spek juga.
Padahal mata dia tak rosak. Adil ke tu? It's not adil. You're not putting a thing in its proper place. Like spek ni, it's in a proper place because I need the thing. So what is zalim? It's the opposite. Zalim means you take things out of its proper place. Itu zalim. You take things out of its proper, like for example, you take somebody's right. Zalim lah tu. You take somebody's right away.
Right.
Itu zalim lah kan. You put it back, itu adil balik. So love, you can think of it in the sense of adil and zalim as well. When love is put in its proper place, it's adil. When it's not, it's zalim. When something is adil, every person in that interaction will have his or her rights fulfilled properly. When love is zalim, those rights are harmed. You're gonna get hurt in a zalim punya love relationship. So that's one framework that I want people to think about lah. I'm not like forcing you to accept. I mean, just think about it. Just think about it, right? You already know what love is. I don't have to tell you. But where do you put your love?
Betul. You know, this reminds me of a quote from, not a quote lah, but a page from Stephen Arcovey's punya buku, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
7 Habits, yeah.
Yeah, let me just read it out. Proactive people make love a verb. Love is something you do. The sacrifice you make, the giving of love, like a mother bringing a newborn into the world. If you want to study love, study those who sacrifice for others, even for those who offend or do not love in return. If you are a parent, look at the love you have for the children you sacrifice for. Love is a value that is actualized through loving actions. Proactive people subordinate feelings to values. Love, the feeling, can be recaptured.
Woo! Arcovey.
Yes. I honestly feel I want to read it back. Then read back the whole thing. There's so much things I need to read. I mean, one of them is Sukufu, of course, guys. Buy it, Sukufu.
That one's a wajib read, please. Wajib
read, yes. For Ramadan nanti, baca lah kan. Nak instilkan perspektif baru tentang cinta dengan perkahwinan. You know?
I agree. It's a good read. I've heard people macam like in one sitting boleh habiskan buku tu, like wow. Okay. Wow. Hebat.
Hebat.
As the author of the book pun tak adalah baca laju sangat macam tu.
Oh,
yeah, some people cannot put it down, so I appreciate it.
Wow, yeah, definitely. That is a cool thing, man. I mean, people reading your book, and I honestly, I just love the cover. It's so aesthetically pleasing. Let me just say, it's so good.
Thank you. Credit to the publisher, Aiman Publication. They do all those like beautiful artistic stuff. So I'm very pleased with their team. They really know how to make a book.
Yes, definitely. But by the way, guys, this is no like I'm not getting sponsored for this. I'm not getting sponsored for this or anything. This is just me like showing my appreciation to Aiman Azlan because he is such an incredible person. Like on and off, he's the man.
Yes, I am the man. Thank you. Very humble, very humble man. Yes, indeed. But I am the man, though. Yes.
Yes, you are the man.
So I'm guessing the other co-host is not here at all.
Yes, apparently he said he's about to come in at 5. Itulah tu. Banyak perkara dia boleh belajar daripada sesi yang kita cakap ni. Banyak point sebenarnya.
It's alright. It's his loss though.
Yeah. Yeah, his loss is that he has to rewatch the entire 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Yes. Make it a wajib for him. You tak datang lah. You kena tengok habis. you kena hantar essay 2 page kat saya by Monday.
Boleh. Apa ni? He has to watch it. I'll make sure he watch it. I'll make sure he gets the message.
All right. Good.
All right. Okay. Anyways, thank you guys who has came here till the end to the conclusion of the first episode of Mencari Cinta. If you do like this episode, give us a like and subscribe. And also fill in the Google form down below. We'd like to hear your comments and feedbacks on how we can improve the podcast better, obviously. And this is really, really crucial for us, because if you think you believe our content is worthwhile, you should definitely give your comments and feedback so you can improve and help this podcast grow. And as you can tell, the podcast isn't just about, sharing serious information. It's also about having fun, being together as one whole community, right? And again, thank you, Aiman Azlan, for coming on the podcast. It is such a great honor to have you again for the second time. And if you guys want to have if you guys really want another collab with him again, do give us in the comments below. Maybe if you guys give us 15 likes, maybe we can try doing another collaboration. Maybe we see what we can do. We'll see, kan? We'll see.
15 je.
Okay lah, maybe 100, maybe 20. Well, Aiman, the step comes first, right? The first step is 20. Maybe the next step is 40. Who knows, right?
Cool. Boleh.
But yeah, anyways, we'll be uploading some of these clips of this live online on Spotify, so do look up to that. All right, and remember, do buy Aiman Azlan's new book called Sekufu, right? Rasa macam dekat talk show pula eh. Buy his book Sekufu, and yeah, for this Ramadan, or maybe for your for your wife, or maybe for your girlfriend, who knows, right? Kan? You can buy
It's a good like hantaran gift.
Actually, yeah, it is.
But I think like in one of your 7 dulang too, you have to put this book in.
Oh yes, definitely. You gotta put this here. Macam,
Yes.
this is like it's not like a manual, but a guide lah. Again, a guide. Okay, right. And yeah, and remember, if you think this episode is really, really awesome, do repost this episode right now. Just take a picture of what we're saying right now and anything, and put the hashtag Jom Ah Lepak. Yes, Jom Ah Lepak. Okay.
Jom
So
lepak.
Yeah, Jom Ah Lepak. Right. So without further ado, thank you guys for coming. We will see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. where we talk about marriage at first sight, as we will delve into one of our senior who actually kahwin very, very early. Actually, Aiman, he kahwin that around after Asasi UiTM.
Cool.
Yeah. And fun fact, what we're gonna touch on tomorrow is the niat. Penting tu. Niat tu penting. Okay? Alright. So without further ado, we hope that we can see you guys in the next episode coming tomorrow. Until then, see you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you guys. Assalamualaikum. Peace out.